Hello viewers, welcome to this particular lecture on microbiology. In this particular lecture, I shall be discussing some aspects of discoveries of immunology from the period of 1984 till date, that is 2014. This particular 30 years actually has led to tremendous amount of development with respect to molecular biology of immunogen and control of different disorder, including some autoimmune diseases. To start with, in the year 1984, it was Doreen Cantrell and Kendall Smith. They actually discovered the first single cell analysis of lymphocyte proliferation. And this lymphocyte proliferation actually they showed can be by different other chemicals, which can be cathinone, cathine or norephedrine, which are plant-based products. They actually phosphorylate proteins like ERK1, P38, MAPK, P53, etc. and they induce this proliferation. This proliferation actually will definitely give adequate immunity to a particular antigen entering our body. It was also shown that B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte proliferation can be occurring separately. B lymphocyte can proliferate with the help of some particular plant mitogen on one hand. Similarly, on the other hand, both B and T lymphocyte can also be activated or divide with the help of this particular mitogen. But when it is coming to bacterial protein, that is the protein A to be specific, it was seen that it was only activating the B cell receptor and stimulating the B cell proliferation. But at the end of the day, what I could see that this proliferation is important after the entry of a disease and thereby the defense reaction is perfect. It was in the year 1986, Bloomberg discovered a particular vaccine against the dreadful disease of hepatitis B. Hepatitis B actually is a virus which causes the liver cirrhosis or liver cancer, and this particular vaccine was prepared in a typical way, that is, we call it transgenic way, by which the gene for this surface antigen present in hepatitis B was transferred to a particular yeast genome, yeast DNA, and it was entered into the yeast, and this particular yeast, which is a transgenic yeast, could produce the protein similar to that of the virus. So when it was inoculated in the form of a vaccine to a person, this person didn't develop hepatitis, but ultimately he is protected from hepatitis B. And what is the mechanism involved? Now when this vaccine was injected, this vaccine was injected along with some typical adjuvant so that the absorption is more. By whom? By the toll-like receptor of the dendritic cells. And these dendritic cells are having the naive T cells, which keeps the vaccine molecule or the antigen molecule in between, and they produce specific helper T cell or effector T cell. This is one side of the story. And the other side of the story is that they are directly accepted by the B cell, by the humoral immunity. And when this particular B cell gets the signal from certain helper T cell, ultimately they produce specific antibody secreting plasma cell. So this is how you are getting the typical defense against the dreadful hepatitis B virus. Timothy Mossman, in the year 1986, he actually denoted proliferating helper T cells, and he named them as Th1 and Th2 cells, and these differentiating cells are called actually the type 1 helper T cell and the type 2 helper T cell. And this is a typical electron microscopy of the Th1 helper T cell. Now what is happening? This particular antigen presenting cell will attract a particular mitogen or antigen, whatever, it's a protein. On one side it will produce the CD8 T cell, on the other side it will produce the Th0 or the CD4 cell. This Th0 gradually under the effect of interleukin 4 will be converted to Th2, and this Th2 will induce the replication of the B cells, and that ultimately will produce the humoral immunity with specific set of antibody. But on the other hand, this particular CD4 cells will activate the Th1 cell, and the Th1 will proliferate to produce the memory T cells, and thereby it will produce the cell mediated immunity or cellular immunity. So actually both the immunity by this helper T cell 1 and helper T cell 2 are responsible, and they both help in preventing the development of a particular disease.
But sir, which takes longer to occur, cell mediated immune response or humoral immune response?
Yeah, you can see here from this figure that humoral immunity directly involves the activation of the Th0 to Th2, and thereby quickly it is operating in the B cells. Now B cells are there in the peripheral blood vessels. So naturally immediate response. So it is faster. But cell mediated will take longer time because the proliferation rate is relatively slow initially, then it will take up, but it is a permanent defense. So cell mediated immunity will take the longer time. Clear? Good. Now this gentleman, that is Rudd, in the year 1988, he discovered biochemical initiators of T cell activation, and he called them the CD4 CD8 P56 LCK complex. Now we must understand this particular mechanism. It is a very simple way where LCK is the key molecule. It is the central node in the TCR or T cell receptor signaling. This particular T cell receptor and CD3 will combine, and this combination will regulate the LCK activity, and this LCK activity will phosphorylate a specific ETAM. What is ETAM? Immunotyrosine based activation motif. And after that there will be specific recruitment of other kinase or phosphorylase which will lead to T cell activation, and this particular phosphorylation can actually be inhibited by certain cells like CD45. So this particular mechanism, that activation of LCK, activation of ETAM and production of these different immunogen will help in TCR signaling or combating the particular disease. This picture is even more clear where I can show that LCK mediated phosphorylation clearly occurs. So this is the resting T cell where the ETAM is not phosphorylated. Now the moment this particular CD4, the binding of the ligand to this particular receptor leads to phosphorylation. So this CD4 will bind, and there is another protein factor, that is the ZAP70, which will bind with this, and as a result of which this particular activation will occur of the ETAM. So this signaling pathway is controlled by this tyrosine mediated immunoreceptor, and that was actually shown by Rudd. Clear? Now this lady Sherazadeh Nasseri, she showed the peptide for MHC class 2. That is, I can say what are the importance of peptide in MHC class 2. Now what are these MHC class 2? The major histocompatibility complex. They are found in the antigen presenting cell of the B cell lymphocyte, and the antigen presenting class 2 peptide are actually derived from extracellular protein. This particular protein will enter through some specific pathway which is endocytic or endogenous, and this particular MHC class 2 protein will be entering through phagocytosis, or it will be loading the MHC class 2 through phagocytosis, and this particular phagocytosis will result in the formation of heterophagosome digested by lysosome, and the peptide will be broken into fragments. And when it is broken into fragments, with the residual bodies, it will be eliminated from the cell by exocytosis. So it is a unique way by which a particular protein binds with the MHC2, then it is digested by lysosome and given out. So this phenomenon can be clearly seen here. You can see this is the peptide binding groove of MHC class 1, but we are more concerned with this peptide binding groove of MHC class 2 between the beta 1 and alpha 1. And this is the alpha 2 and beta 2 molecule. You can clearly see this is how peptide binding groove is active. So that particular protein which has been degraded to smaller peptide or oligopeptide will bind here, and the moment it is bind here, it is processed and given out. We come to the discovery of transitional B cells by David Allman, and this particular discovery actually was done in 1992 along with another gentleman, Cancro. But what is that? This particular mechanism of transitional B cell is from the type 1 B cell to type 2. The type 1 B cell is present in bone marrow, it is immature in nature, and it is transferred through specific B cell receptor into the spleen. And this particular T1 is converted to T2, and then finally it is converted to F0 or the follicular B cell. So it is the BT1 I should say, T1 B cells, then T2 B cells, type 2 B cells, and then finally to follicular cells. And as it is converted, this conversion may be switched off by certain particular blockers like the NF-kB or NF-kB2 or even LG alpha protein. Similarly, T2 to F0 conversion can be blocked by PLC or BCAP proteins. So once this particular F0 is produced, it will actually be transferred to peritoneum, and thereby it will be actively participating in humoral immunity.
Sir, I have a doubt. What is the advantage of transitional B cells?
Now, you must understand the B cells are produced in bone marrow, right? They proliferate and modify in the spleen. And because of this transition, they can be transferred to the peritoneum. Now, this is the advantage. Whenever there is a particular infection in the peritoneum, this transition will help to combat the infection at the outset. If it was inside, then the infection would have spread. So you got my point? That is the advantage. Clear to you? Good. In the year 1994, Polly Matzinga, she discovered a unique model. This model was called danger model of immunological tolerance. That is, the first phenomenon which I should understand is immunological tolerance. What is immunological tolerance? It is a state of unresponsiveness to the immune system, to certain tissue or substances that have the ability to elicit immune response. You will not show that response. And this tolerance can be of two types. On the basis of its origin, it can be central, it can be peripheral. And obviously, when it is the bone marrow or the thymus, it is central. And when it is done by the peripheral lymph nodes outside, in the outside part of the body, they are peripheral. Now, definitely, whenever this particular responsiveness is reduced, that is, this tolerance is less, then you can suffer from a disease called autoimmune disorder. And this autoimmune disorder may result in different types of diseases, like the systemic lupus erythematosus or SLE. SLE will show some specific symptoms. Actually, it will comprise of different organs, like there will be fever or photosensitivity, typical spots, a lesion in the skin. There will be arthritis in the joints, there will be muscle ache, there will be poor circulation or deformity in the finger, there will be inflammation of the pericardium, enlarged heart, there will be typical psychological fatigue, loss of appetite, always tired. This type of symptoms may be seen.
So I have a question. Is SLE more frequent in women?
Actually, SLE involves a general physiological disorder. You can have it both in men or in women, but sometimes the disease may be more pronounced because of certain facts like low hemoglobin content or weakness of bone density. These are the phenomena which can lead to prominent SLE symptoms. So I can say it occurs both in male and female, but the symptoms are more pronounced in female. There may be arthritis because of this particular autoimmunity. This is the normal joint, where the joint you can see clearly the synovial membrane and the synovial fluid is there. But in case of osteoarthritis, what happens is the friction is there because of the loss of this capsule or loss of synovial fluid. But in case of rheumatoid arthritis, you can see this typical synovial membrane is swelling. And this swelling is because of the fact that your own immunity, your immune cells are destroying this particular membrane. So that is why it is called autoimmunity. Similarly, another typical case of type 1 diabetes or juvenile diabetes where the insulin receptors are non-functional, as a result of which there is non-functional sugar absorption and there will be more sugar elevation in young children or in young people. So all these problems are there if your immunotolerance level is low. So what are the two mechanisms of this immunotolerance? One is called the typical stranger model, which was actually denoted earlier. This model shows that the immunotolerance because of some pathogen. When the pathogen enters, there are specific pathogen associated molecular pattern, and this molecular pattern will be activated through some typical pattern recognition, and that ultimately will take it to the dendritic cell, and then it will be migrating to the lymph node and resulting in its destruction. This is called PAMP mediated stranger model. But what actually Metzinger denoted, she denoted the typical danger model. What is that? There is some damage, there is some necrosis, and this particular necrosis will create a particular molecule because of damage. This is your own protein, and this protein will bind to the dendritic cell, and the dendritic cell will mature and take it to the lymph node where it is getting destroyed. So this danger model is actually a very effective phenomenon, and if the tolerance is not there, then naturally there will be autoimmunity. You can see the mechanism of this antigenic tolerance. For a normal immunoresponse, there will be immunogenic antigen and normal proliferation. But if it is antigen tolerance, then that means the immunogen or antigen will enter, and this antigen will not really result in any specific response from the antibodies or the antibody producing cells. Okay, so that is antigenic tolerance, and in some way it is also dangerous, because if there is an infection and there is no reaction, that can lead to proliferation of the infection. Now we come to the next discovery. Actually, this discovery was by Sakaguchi in the year 1995, who discovered the regulatory T cells or the TREGs. Now what are they? They are actually a type of suppressor T cell, and this particular suppressor T cell will modulate the immune system, and they maintain tolerance to self antigen, and actually they abrogate the autoimmune disorder. And it was actually suggested in mice that modulation of TREG can treat autoimmune disorder, cancer, or even they can facilitate organ transplantation. So fiddling with these particular TREGs can lead to the proper treatment of cancer, organ transplant, or different other autoimmune disorder. There is a particular vaccine which is actually tried by Mukherjee et al. In India. This particular vaccine is the dendritic cell vaccine. Now what is dendritic cell vaccine? This dendritic cell vaccine is the dendritic cell which is used as a vaccine. Why it is used as a vaccine? You can see this is the typical peripheral blood mononuclear cell, and this PBMC will ultimately be added to dendritic cells and tumor antigen, and there will be cell culture, and this particular tumor antigen will be destroyed, or it will actually, when it is injected, it can reduce the probability of cancer. So it is a typical body cell which is produced naturally in your body, can actually prevent the growth of cancerous cell or growth of tumor in future. So it is utilizing your own body cell. You can ultimately develop resistance against cancer or other particular autoimmune disorder. And of course there may be specific systems, like the MACsite system is one of them, where the processing of this particular tumor antigen is done in a typical MACsite system, where the efficacy of the vaccine increases. I come to the next important discovery by Fraser in 2005, which is the vaccine against the dreadful disease of human papilloma virus, which is a virus that causes the cervical cancer. And this particular vaccine can be of two types, Gardasil and Cervix. And this particular Gardasil or Cervix vaccine, they are protective against different strains of HPV. And they can prevent the dreadful disease of genital wart or anal cancer or vaginal cancer. Now, ultimately in India it is important because a huge number of death is because of this HPV or human papillomavirus, and that also during childbirth or because of unhygienic condition in which the women are subjected to labor. So naturally this vaccine can prevent death in those young mothers. Coming to the next important discovery, which is a relatively recent discovery in 2013, Lay and his co-workers discovered a molecule or discovered a mechanism which is preventing heart diseases. Now what is that particular heart disease? They identified a specific immune cells that is responsible for inflammatory attack in the coronary artery wall. And these immune cells are acting as a memory. And these memory cells can be used as a vaccine. So what I am trying to say, a particular protein which is normally produced in the body is considered as a foreign protein by these specific cells. So if these cells are regulated, then this foreign protein related inflammation will not take place. And thereby this type of changes will not occur. That means if there is no inflammation, there will be relatively less lipid development, and that ultimately will maintain the lumen of the coronary artery and will reduce the possibility of future heart attack.
So I have another question. Can the cardiac vaccine prevent heart attack?
You see, I told you that it is a relatively recent discovery. It can reduce the probability because the inflammatory reaction will allow more lipid to develop or to deposit. So if I can reduce the inflammation, then I can definitely reduce the different heart related ailments. So I cannot really say that heart attack will be totally removed, but I can definitely say the probability can be reduced. Okay. We come to the last major discovery, which is in this year by Manuela Raffatteliou in the year 2014. She discovered that there is a particular immunological molecule which is called interleukin 22. This particular interleukin 22 is produced because of hypersensitivity, and it will induce salmonella infection. Now this salmonella actually comes through food. This is the salmonella bacteria inside the food, so it can enter our body. And when it enters our body, what happens is there is a typical production of this IL-23 which will activate the IL-22, and thereby this IL-22 will modify the typical microbial flora of your intestine. The protective flora of E. coli might go down, and this will increase the probability of this particular salmonella infection. So what she tried to explain, she explained it is because of some fiddling of the immunogenic molecule or interleukin, we get more prone to certain bacterial infection. But the story doesn't end here. It is also shown that because of this change, there might be some change in the metabolic activity, digestion ability, as a result of which there will be obesity. And you know, if obesity can be prevented, nothing like that. Because ultimately we all aim for a zero figure so that we can keep away diseases. So naturally by controlling IL-22 we can also control obesity.